No matter how many fantasy football gurus and crystal balls you have, there's no guarantee that you're taking home the win this weekend. But you know what's always a chip shot field goal? Surprising your friends or loved ones with gorgeous bouquets from 1-800-Flowers.com. Take it from me, when it comes to making your loved ones feel truly appreciated, bouquets from 1-800-Flowers are a lock. And right now, 1-800-Flowers is giving my listeners an exclusive 36 for 36 offer. 36 autumn roses, $36. That's only $1 per rose. This beautiful arrangement of fall, red, orange, and yellow roses will leave her stunned without spending a fortune. It's the best of both worlds. Amazing roses at an unbeatable price. These gorgeous roses from 1-800-Flowers are picked at their peak and shipped overnight to ensure freshness. 36 autumn roses, only $36. Unbelievable deal, and a small price to pay with all your fantasy league winnings. There's 1-800-Flowers.com, and then there's everybody else. You know who I trust when the game's on the line. To order 36 autumn roses for only $36, go to 1-800-Flowers.com/Mike. That's 1-800-Flowers.com/Mike, and hurry, the offer ends Friday.
It's time for some straight talk. The big wireless companies charge a boatload for their superior network coverage. But guess what? Straight Talk uses the same cell towers but charges a lot less. Who knew? Well, now you do. And I do. So let's do something. It's time to switch to Straight Talk. Unlimited plans start as low as $35 a month on America's largest, most dependable networks. Straight Talk Wireless. Only at Walmart.
Savings may vary. A month equals 30 days. Please refer always to the latest terms and conditions of service at straighttalk.com.
Here we are. We are back and better than ever. There's too much jovial nature going on behind the scenes here for my comfort.
Get over it.
There's nothing to be happy about. There's nothing to be jovial about. It's ruining my ability to speak the English language. We had a call yesterday that was a sham of a mockery of a travesty of a criminal act, and I, for one, will not sit still for it. Where Mike and Mike were presented by Progressive Insurance, our guests on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Here's a man who loves to rub the dirt in the wound. Our friend Booger McFarland is in studio. What DEFCON level was it for the Jets yesterday after that call? Big
Listen,
fella.
hey, they were in trouble. And you know what, Goldie? There's nothing more that I love than to see the Jets winning. And I sent Greeny a text, and it simply said, Josh McCown, franchise quarterback, book it.
That's what he texted. What did I text you back? I texted. This was hours before it happened. Hours before it happened. This is a true story.
Of course, he started complaining about the referee.
I texted back. Refs wearing Pats uniforms. That's on. It is
hours before it happened. He started texting.
Well, the whole first half. Don't get me started on the entire first half.
Please don't get him started, because then we have to talk about it.
Anyway, let's go through a bunch of NFL stuff here, and then we'll get to the college with Booger and everything else. Let's start with Aaron Rodgers, because that is, despite my protestation, the biggest story in the sport. Yesterday, maybe to this point, the biggest story in the league. You've got Aaron Rodgers, who you could argue was the best player in the league and one of the best quarterbacks of all time, who goes down. So if you're on that team right now, I mean, people like me are going to say, oh, they're done. That's it. You got teams that might win it all this year. Well, scratch them right off the list. In an honest moment, do the guys in that locker room know that?
Some think it. Some even probably think they know it. But nobody believes that. And here's what I'll say. I'll go back to my rookie year, Greeny. Trent Dilfer was our starting quarterback. Trent Dilfer went down, and we came within a terrible referee call of making the Super Bowl. The Bert Emanuel catch, Sean King
wasn't as bad as yesterday, but another play you're talking about, yeah.
Sean King was a rookie quarterback. He came in, and Tony Dungy had a philosophy. Everybody do their job, and if everybody will do their job, we'll get the rookie quarterback to play to the level he needs to. Defense is going to be on you. And if you go back to that game, our defense played lights out that game, and they played lights out all year. Green Bay's built a little bit different. They're built as an offensive team. We were a defensive team. So now Brett Hundley's been there a couple of years. So he should be very well versed in this system. Should be very, very comfortable. He looked comfortable at the podium saying, you know what? I'm Brent. I'm not Aaron. So I think they will be okay. They're just going to have to tinker the offense just a little bit. And Mike McCarthy has to ask himself, what does this young man do well? And if you'll do that, then I think Brent can keep him afloat a little while. But the number one thing as a coach he can't do, he can't start crying and whining and saying, woe is me. The coach has to exude confidence, because Tony Dungy stood at that podium and he said, we're going to be okay. And when he said that, the light in our head went on. We're going to be okay. The leaders on that defense, Brooks, Sapp, they said, listen, it's on us. Whatever you were doing, got to do a little bit more now. And Greeny, we came within a call of getting to the Super Bowl with a rookie quarterback, so it can be done.
The difference is you guys had a championship defense. Green Bay's defense is good, but it's not a it's not a great defense.
Correct.
When you can rely, that's the way I felt in Philadelphia.
Right.
You know, even when we lost Randall Cunningham the first game of the year, we thought we were done, but we thought if we have a chance, we have a great defense and we can carry along. And Green Bay will think that. Everybody, to a man, they'll all think we can get it done. Maybe in a private moment, they're going to have a whole lot of doubt because it's going to have to change some. But it is true. The bottom line is just go do your job. Beat the guy in front of you, execute the game plan, which will be simplified. There's no doubt about that, to what Hundley can do well. And you go from there. I don't have a whole lot of hope for them because I don't think they're great enough at any other aspect of their team to say that's going to carry them and hold them above water just in case Aaron Rodgers can come back this year, because we don't know the full extent of the injury or what they have to do.
And we talk a lot about what the college game is doing to the NFL game. And sometimes we can say it's ruining it with the offensive lineman not getting down in stances. But the one thing it's doing, it's allowing these quarterbacks to throw the football a lot. So, Greeny, if you go back 10 or 15 years ago when a rookie quarterback came in, he may not be ready to play. But look at Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott was mature. He was ready to go. He'd thrown the football a lot at Mississippi State. Brett Hundley's thrown the football a lot at UCLA, and he's been in the league 2 years. So when you start a young quarterback, a guy that hasn't been in the system a long time, or a guy that hasn't been in the NFL a long time, you're not at that much of a disadvantage anymore because of how the college game is now. These guys are throwing the football a lot. He's seen a lot of defenses. Now he's going to have to study. They're going to try to throw some different looks and different blitzes at him, but I think he'll be okay just because where the college game has prepared the quarterbacks to throw the football now.
By the way, over the last 2 seasons, no team in football has thrown the ball more than the Packers. They throw the ball on 69% of their offensive plays, and the obvious reason is because they have the brilliant quarterback. So they don't have to believe it, but I certainly firmly believe it. Unless he somehow makes a miraculous comeback and is back in December, let's say, could you keep the ship afloat a little bit, perhaps? Can they win it without him? I don't think anyone in their right minds thinks they can. Booger is here with the Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless, best phones, best networks, no contracts. I want to delve a little more deeply into something we had right at the end of the previous hour. This notion of teams having each other's number. Like, we had the stat a second ago. Kansas City, in their last 20 games, are 15-2 against everybody else, and they're 0-3 against Pittsburgh. It's curious. Now, we also look at different matchups. Like, it feels like Kansas City kind of has New England's number. Yeah. And different teams have each other's number. Obviously, styles make fights, and that's just the way these things go. But that, I think, bodes awfully well for the Steelers, who sit in a very winnable division. All of a sudden, they have a big win on the road at Kansas City. New England looks very vulnerable to me. All of a sudden, Pittsburgh team turmoil looks like a pretty nice spot.
I'll give you a small piece of the puzzle of the matchups. What did Pittsburgh do in this game that they hadn't in the last few games?
They ran it like crazy with Le'Veon Bell.
They activated James Harrison.
Oh,
James Harrison hadn't been playing, and when he had been activated, he hadn't played a lot. But they said they liked the matchup with him against Fisher, the left tackle. You saw late in the game, you saw a Harrison sack. You saw pressure on the quarterback. So you start to look at potential matchups of what goes on in the field when you're talking about wins with the same personnel grouping. Because Booger, I mean, when you go over a game plan, you look at the totality of the game plan, and then you study your guy. Okay, how can I beat that guy? What does he do? How does he pull? Where does he put his hands? And they felt the matchup would help James Harrison in this case against Fisher. So those are little things you look at when you're game planning a team.
Well, Greeny, I'm going to bring this right to your wheelhouse. How many times have you played a golf course and you said, that's my nemesis hole?
Yeah.
Is that really your nemesis hole, or is it just mental in your head because of what you like to do? That hole doesn't fit what you like to do. It's very similar with football, Greeny. The Philadelphia Eagles had our number. The late Jim Johnson, when he was the defensive coordinator of the Eagles and we were the Bucs, I mean, he terrorized our offense. And our defense, Donovan McNabb would always find a way to elude Sapp and throw it just over Brooks' head. So they had our number until they didn't, until we finally got it in our head.
You went in there and beat them in their building in the NFC Championship.
Yes, and it was 38 degrees. So everything was stacked against us. But mentally, we locked in and we said, you know what? They put their pants on one leg at a time just like we do. Just like that golf hole, Greeny, where you've made double and triple for the last 3 years, all of a sudden now you're going to get a birdie. Why? Tell me why. It's because you execute your plan that day, or you take a mulligan, either one. It doesn't really matter.
I was going to say he doesn't know why because he hadn't birdied that hole yet.
And I'm still waiting for that moment to come. But I do understand the thinking behind it. But with that thought in mind, everyone is talking about who's the team to beat in the NFC now because of the injury to Rodgers. Who's the team to beat in the AFC? And you watch New England play week in, week out, they look very, very vulnerable. The Raiders have gone from being everybody's sweetheart to looking flat out lousy. Pittsburgh has Kansas City's number. Denver's much vaunted defense gave up 100 and something yards rushing to the Giants yesterday, who had looked like maybe the worst team in the NFL going into that game. Everybody in the in the AFC North has a million different flaws. Right. Maybe you like the who do you like? Who do we like? Who do we trust?
I think
in
this
the
is
AFC?
going to be a situation where whoever gets in the dance is really going to have a shot. Because if Pittsburgh plays the way they did yesterday, Pittsburgh is a veteran team that's seasoned. They understand when the chips are on the table, you know how to play football. And yesterday, I'm not going to say yesterday was a referendum on Alex Smith, but Greeny, I tweeted this out, and go and tell me what you think. Yesterday's game was the reason why people don't trust Alex Smith and Andy Reid. In a big game, at home, they played great. He's been phenomenal, maybe the MVP all year. But now you get against this team where everybody's saying, okay, let us see it. Let us see it against this defense, against this team. And for the better part of 3 quarters, like you didn't see it. The Andy Reid offense, the play calling just wasn't there. And I think, Greeny, this is going to be a year where whichever 6 teams gets in the dance in the NFC and the AFC, I think they all have a chance to win the championship.
You know, I understand what you're saying, but somebody tweeted at me because I've been defending Andy Reid. I was always amazed. This guy couldn't have got run out of Philly fast enough for going to 5 NFC title games in the Super Bowl, yet Buddy Ryan was beloved, and we never won a playoff game under Buddy, but Buddy was such a great character there. Someone tweets me yesterday, this is why Andy Reid got run out of Philly. I said, are you kidding me? That Pittsburgh has had Kansas City's number. I get it. It's their first loss of the season, and all of a sudden, Alex Smith is a pedestrian quarterback, and Andy Reid can't coach. Blows my mind. Now, they do have to get over this hump. I grant you that.
Right.
But, my God, I'm not willing to throw away the whole season.
No, I'm not throwing them away.
But they do have to get over this hump.
Correct.
And going back to the AFC talk, if Pittsburgh cannot beat themselves and get themselves squared away of the sideshow of Antonio Brown at time, and Ben says, maybe I don't have it anymore, and then gets ripped.
I'm Superman.
I mean, but to me, their defense is playing a lot better.
Yeah.
Their defense is playing better, and I think that's a key for them. But so I think Pittsburgh is there. I am certainly in no way ruling out Kansas City by any stretch of the imagination. New England absolutely has trouble on defense, no doubt about it. You're right about Oakland. They're certainly not what we have seen right now. And the Broncos, I don't even think family and friends of the Giants would have picked the Giants to win last night. So I don't know what happened.
No one. And I think when you look at Oakland, Oakland is the most puzzling thing we've seen so far. To me, it's a classic case of you have a team who everything on paper says they should be good. Like everything you look at, the offensive line, it rivals the Cowboys, and Derek Carr, he's ready to step into the elite class. But the one thing that you don't know about, and Golick, you understand this, is the chemistry and the personalities in that locker room that are meshing together. On paper, it can look good. But when that mix in the locker room isn't right, then you start to see it on the field first, and then it'll come out later on, hey, there's something going on. Maybe this team is not mixing together the way it should, because it's not the same team as it was last year. Some of the names are the same, but the entire 53 is not the same, and maybe that's what's going on in there.
Let's move over it, because we haven't mentioned this team in the NFC. Now, with Aaron Rodgers getting hurt, you have Philadelphia at the top there, Atlanta not looking like Atlanta's supposed to. Are we going to start giving some love to the Rams? And start saying maybe this team is for real for the entirety of the season. By the way, what a great matchup of 2 young running backs. Yeah. Fournette, the rookie, for Jacksonville, and Gurley for the Rams. Both of them with big runs in this game. Both of them over 100 yards. But, man, I'll tell you what. The Rams, they're home to Arizona. Then they have a bye at the Giants, home to Houston, at Minnesota, home to New Orleans.
All winnable.
You've got to and this defense has got the names like Aaron Donald, who you certainly love, but they do give up a little too much on the run, no doubt about it. But offensively, man, they are clicking well, and I think that's a team you got to reckon with.
I think the reason we're not so fast to throw him a lot of love is because we remember the Jared Goff from Hard Knocks. Yeah. And everybody's saying, has he really grown up that quick? Like, has he really been changed with just a few games?
Has he learned where the sun rises and sets?
Exactly. I think that's the biggest reason why we're very hesitant to give them a little bit. But I agree with you. They can run the football. The offensive line has to continue to protect Goff. The defense has to show up to run. They got to get the impact plays. The defensive line has played good, but in order for that defense to be what it should be, they have to play great because they got a lot of first-round picks and a lot of money invested in their defensive line.
Mike and Mike presented by Progressive Insurance. Progressive is celebrating 5 years and more than 500 cars donated to vets. To learn more, visit keystoprogress.com. Booger McFarland is in our studio. All right, let's get to the sham of a mockery, of a joke, of a disgrace, of a criminal act that took place in the Jet game yesterday. I'll just give you the floor, Booger, assuming that you say things I like. What did you make of the call on the Austin Seferian-Jenkins play yesterday?
Well, I think when you hear them use the certain language like definitive and things of that nature, I watched it several times. I couldn't see anything definitive, so I'm not really sure how they saw that. And you can splice together different angles. I thought it was a touchdown. At the very worst, I thought it was the ball went out of bounds at the 6-inch line, and the Jets would have the football. The fact that they said that the ball somehow hit the goalpost or the pylon, and now we're going to reward the ball to the Patriots, I didn't quite understand that. I thought the referees blew the call, but that's just my take. Green, I know you were devastated. I think in the end, though, that play didn't decide the game. Just like an old coach would say. That's the most important play because it's the one we look at. But the Jets had several opportunities throughout that game to put some more points on the board. And I understand the referees made some terrible calls, but the Jets in the end, I think they'll fault that play, but it's not the play, in my opinion, that cost them the game.
And players know that. They know they have more plays, and they know sometimes you get the bear, sometimes the bear gets you. You get that call, sometimes you don't. And I guess what makes it pretty evident to the referee is the fact that if he felt it was a fumble and he was in the end zone when he fumbled the ball, then it's an easy call. It's Patriots ball going the other way. But I'm with you, Booger. I mean, the call that was on the field, I didn't think would be overturned.
Right.
I saw everybody was seeing. He definitely lost possession, but I thought he got possession back before his shoulder hit the pylon. So I thought, oh, there's no way they can reverse this thing. And then when they reversed it, because they couldn't make it incomplete because he had possession and was going forward with it, so it was going to be a fumble.
Right.
So they say fumble, they say out of the end zone, which is so different. You fumble it on the 6-inch line, it's still your ball. Yeah. You fumble it when you're 6 inches in the end zone, it goes to the other team. It's amazing what a short distance can do. But I'm still somewhat amazed that they overturned that.
I am more than amazed. I'm dismayed. I'm disheartened. I'm disgusted. And once again, they will be hearing from my legal counsel. All right, onwards we go. The Atlanta Falcons, what? What is missing? Is it the departure of the offensive coordinator? Is it a Super Bowl hangover? What is it? Because they are 2 plays away right now from being out of it in the NFC. They are a Bears drop. Pick either one you want in the first game of the season. And Golden State being 6 inches short and 8 seconds too late in that game against Detroit from being 1-4 right now. What's missing in Atlanta?
I'll give you a couple things, Greeny. When you get to the Super Bowl, oftentimes everyone, whether you win it or not, everyone feels like they deserve a piece of the pie. All right, we're the Falcons. We should have won the Super Bowl, and the manner in which we lost it, we're all heartbroken. So there are a lot of people that have that in the back of their mind. That's number one. Number two, I think they have to figure out a way to start playing for each other again and not for themselves. You look at the play where Grady Jarrett gets the personal foul, roughing the passer. That's a selfish penalty. That's, okay, I want to get my name called out in the meeting room. Hey, great hit, Grady. No, just be satisfied with the pressure. And then I think the overwhelming thing, which we all know, is where's Julio Jones at? Julio Jones, I think we all agree, if he's not the best receiver in football, he's 1B, 1A, depending on if you're talking to Antonio Brown. He has to become more involved, which brings us back to the ultimate point of the offensive coordinator. The offensive coordinator, people thought, yeah, Shanahan's gone. You bring in Sarkisian. The offense is going to be smooth, same players. It's the mindset of what you do, how you call plays at that certain time. And for whatever reason, Sarkisian is struggling to figure out a way to get Julio Jones the football because he's been dominant the last few years. Shanahan just figured out a way to get him the ball. He's got to figure out a way to get this young man involved. Do I think it's the end of the world for the Falcons? No. But I think they have to go back to saying, you know what? We're young. We're hungry. I just wanted to go, is everybody hungry still right now?
My worry, and offensively, as I said, you had Julio nicked up a bit. Sanu hasn't played in a couple of games. You look at their wins, they scored 23, 34, 30, and their losses 17, 17. And we talked earlier when Jeff Saturday was here about they have an undersized defense that's built to play from ahead. Well, they were ahead against Miami.
Speed.
They were ahead by 17. That plays right into their game. 12 sacks, That doesn't rank high. It ranks in the 20s in the league, and only 2 interceptions. They're not making those plays on defense. I think the offense can get back to what it was, but that defense worries me. That defense is not making the plays. Now, they lost Beasley.
Yeah, Beasley's been
one of their big players,
right.
Having him out of there. But that's how Quinn drafted. He wanted undersized. He wanted speed, get to the ball, and they're just not making the plays on defense and need to pick it up more if the offense isn't scoring.
Look, the numbers are what the numbers are. Julio Jones is averaging 5 catches for 73 yards per game, and he has 0 touchdowns on the season. If Julio Jones isn't getting in the end zone, you have problems there. So I'll ask you guys the same question that I asked you about the AFC. Who do we believe in the NFC? Tampa, which is the team I liked beforehand, and that's your team, Booger, where you played and you still make your home there. They look terrible.
They got hammered.
And flat out, they got killed yesterday. And obviously, Jameis got hurt. How bad do they think the Jameis thing is? Because Fitzpatrick comes in.
He was throwing a little bit. I think it was still sore. It was more precaution. I think he's going to be fine.
So the Eagles would seem to be the obvious answer, coming off a Thursday night win in Carolina and the young quarterback looking really good. Are we buying big time into them? Are we buying into anyone else in that division? Carolina, New Orleans, all of a sudden coming on and winning. They've won 3 straight games. Who are we buying into?
I can't trust New Orleans, even though New Orleans had 3 defensive touchdowns. They still have a little more to prove to me. You can get some points, obviously, out of Drew Brees. Right now, it's Philly as far as complete, from defense to offense, running the ball and passing the ball. I absolutely like them. I say watch out for Minnesota. The 2 best O-line improvements have been the Rams and Minnesota.
Who's quarterback in Minnesota?
That's the thing. I mean, is it Case Keenum? Is it his to have? That's what we were talking about earlier. We don't know where Teddy Bridgewater is. Been on the PUP list, so you haven't seen him on the practice field. He's working. He's throwing, doing something, but we have no idea how he is. No clue at all.
I don't know if we know where Sam Bradford is, though, because
I'm counting Sam Bradford out.
Right, because when the doctor says it's wear and tear, Greeny, what that means is it's not getting better. Because wear and tear doesn't get better. Wear and tear just means it's old age, it's degenerative.
Completely agree.
If it's those same knees, the same knee that he had surgery on, that's not getting any better.
I am. When I talk about Minnesota going forward, I am discounting Sam Bradford.
Okay.
I am saying it's Case Keenum or if Teddy Bridgewater makes a comeback and they lose their top back in Dalvin Cook. But I love what that O-line has been doing, and they have a great defense. So you have a great defense that can keep you into games, and then you sit there and you wonder, Carolina, are they back? Kuechly was cleared. That I thought was going to be a bad situation for them, and we'll see going forward where that goes. Their defense playing good again, and Cam at times this year has looked like the Cam of old. And then the Rams, you just kind of are still wondering, are they going to be for real? But right now, to me, it is Philadelphia. I think they're the most complete team on both sides of the ball.
I agree with you with all that. I'm going to add one team in, and that's Seattle. A veteran group of guys. They understand how to play Greeny. They understand how to win football games. The NFL games go to come down to usually 4 to 5 plays somewhere, somehow. And when you have veteran players, they understand that. They know how to play the game. They know that it's a second down in the first quarter is probably not going to mean as much as 4th down in the 4th quarter or something like this. So they understand how to play. I like Seattle because of the veteran leadership, the quarterback. He can extend plays. He can make plays. And in the end, they got a lot of guys on defense that when they got to get a stop, they understand how to get one.
If the season ended today, and we know it doesn't, but if the season ended today, the only NFC team that would be in the playoffs that was in the playoffs a year ago would be Green Bay. And, oh, by the way, they lost Aaron Rodgers yesterday.
Wow.
So there is a total upside-down factor to the NFC standings as we speak.
Hey, everyone, Mike Golick here. Support for Mike and Mike podcast comes from our friends at Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Chances are you're confident when it comes to your work, your hobbies, your life. Rocket Mortgage gives you that same level of confidence when it comes to buying a home or refinancing your existing home loan. With Rocket Mortgage, you can apply simply and understand fully so you can mortgage confidently. To get started, go to rocketmortgage.com/Mikes. Equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states, NMLSconsumeraccess.org number 3030.
Hey girl, have you done something new with your scales? Using new moisturizer? Nice. It really brings out the hazel in your eyes. Oh, hold on. Are you using whitening strips too? Your fangs look good, girl. Really good.
A really charming snake charmer? Surprising. What's not surprising? How much you could save by switching to Geico.
Wait, what? Have you been doing Pilates too?
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
We are Mike and Mike. We are presented by Progressive Insurance. Booger McFarland is in our studio. You see him every weekend all over ABC and ESPN analyzing college football. And there was, in a weekend filled with startling results, there was no bigger surprise, no bigger win, I think, than Syracuse knocking off Clemson, the number 2 team in the country, at home on Friday night. And joining us now is the head coach of Syracuse, Dino Babers, on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Coach, good morning and congratulations.
Booger, Mike, how are you guys doing?
Doing good, Coach.
Well, we're doing
Congrats,
great.
man.
We just showed your celebration and your speech to the players in the locker room on TV afterwards, and you talked about holding on to that feeling for the rest of your life. I'd love you to share some more of those thoughts with our audience on what a win like that means to a team, to a program, and in your case, means to a coach.
Well, first of all, it's the reason why we play sports. You know, Booger and Mike's up there. When you have something like that, it's going to stay with you the rest of your lives. And what I told the young men is, you know, you'll get older and you'll tell your sons and daughters about it, and you'll get even older and you'll tell your granddaughters and your grandsons about it. And when you're at the family reunion and you start telling the story and they go, "Grandpa, not that story again," and then they can all recite the story by heart because they already know what you're going to say, but they're going to all sit there and listen to the story because that's what you're supposed to do in the family. And it's a special moment, and I'm just glad that those 104 guys in that locker room can have a moment like that to share with their family.
I'd be interested your pregame, not after. We saw how much fun in the locker room after and the joy, but pregame. This is a team, a lot of the same guys that lost 54-0 to Clemson last year as Clemson went on to win the national championship last year. Here you have them coming into your place. What was your pregame talk to them?
You know, it's interesting that you would bring that up, Mike, because there was a lot of firsts in that game. We took out all our running plays. We lost our starting quarterback after 14 plays. We were more concerned about keeping him for the rest of the season and then trying to win that game. Our offense hadn't been shut out like that since 2002. You know, we hadn't been shut out, so it was the first time that the guys that I got together with me, we'd been shut out. Defensively, obviously, we didn't play well. And it was just one of those games where you wanted to right a wrong. You just felt like you were, not that they were national champs last year, but we just felt like we were better than 54-0. And there was a lot of wrong in that game, and we just wanted to go out there that night and make it right.
Coach, to take it on the field a minute, I'm very interested. When you realized that Kelly Bryant couldn't move, did that adjust the defensive game plan? Because it seemed like your defense really got after him when they figured out, hey, this guy can't run anymore on us.
I thought, we were watching him, and I'm like, I'm not sure they're going to run him a lot now. He did pull it once or twice, but, if it was going to be close, I think he was going to hand it more than give it, and I'm glad to hear that he's okay. When he went down, that was really a spooky moment for me because, the same thing happened to our quarterback, and I love Dabo, and I don't want anything to happen. I really still believe they're a national championship team, and they're going to be in the Final Four, and I don't want anything to happen to their season, even though, we're trying to play our best to win. But when he went out, I really got concerned because now the backup quarterback's coming in, and he's 100% healthy, and we didn't have enough tape on him to really dictate what he could and could not do. So that was not, from a coaching standpoint, I'm like, oh my God, get up. Please get up, because I don't know what the backup can do. But it worked out in our favor.
And we're talking Dino Babers, head coach at Syracuse. Big win over number 2 Clemson on Friday night. Your quarterback, Aaron Dungy, throws for 278, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. Let me just flat out ask you that. Why did you win that game Friday?
I really thought we won the game because of the senior class and the leadership. And I really believe we won the game, and coaches normally don't say stuff like this, but because of the close loss at NC State and a close loss at LSU. And I'm like, we're in these games, and it gets down to the end, and we don't win it. And I say it's a lack of faith. It's a lack of belief in guys across from you. And a lot of those other losses came down to, Coach, I was just trying to make a play. I said, you know what making a play is? Making a play is doing your job. And when the ball comes to you, you do your job. And then after you've done your job and you're giving great effort, maybe somewhere you can go help someone else and make a play. But do your job. That's the best opportunity we have to win. And I thought the kids had a great example of those guys going out there and doing that.
So the obviously the celebration, the fans, they have great fans there. It had to be fantastic. So I remember last year you guys beat a number 17 Virginia Tech 31-17, and you're looking for, because you're there to turn around that program. You're looking for kind of program changers. So a big win there. Unfortunately, after that you only win one. You win the next game and then you lose your last 4. So the question now will be: you get this big win. Now how do you keep that going? Because all you have this week is the U. Who's highly ranked as well. So you got a monster win, a big celebration. Now you have to put that aside and say, okay, this has to carry over. How do you do that this year when last year you had that big win and it didn't work so well toward the end of the season? What can be different this year?
Well, hopefully we got more depth. We haven't played with our 2 starting defensive ends since the first quarter of LSU. We still don't have the depth that we need to have in this program. And when you take injuries at certain positions, there's some positions we can suffice, and there's other positions we can't recover from. And that's why we're still recruiting. I was out, 6 hours after I went to bed. I'm in New York City recruiting. I mean, we still need to build the underbelly of this football team. But to answer your question, we have to. There's 2 ways to handle it. You can bring them in and say, forget about that. Now we need to move on to the next game. But in my heart, I just feel this is too big. You got to let this wave ride out. I was born in Hawaii. You got to ride this wave. And so we're not going to bring them in. We didn't bring them in Sunday. We're not bringing them in Monday. Now that's more than 48 hours. And when their butts get back here Tuesday, excuse my French, it's time to get back to business, and it's time to come back to the beach and put your clothes on. We got to go back to school and get to work. Go ahead.
It was a monster win, and I'm just wondering, in your celebration, did it involve any of your barbecue sauce? Mm-hmm. Is you getting slathered on anything?
Yeah, Coach, I keep hearing about this barbecue sauce, Coach. I'm wondering, can I get some of that?
Well, I tell you what, Booger. First of all, you need to get the the dinosaur barbecue sauce. You need to get that. And now, Mike, here's the deal. And you're talking to a guy that lived in Texas for like 4 or 5 years and stopped eating barbecue because I love it so much. I just knew I'd get as big as a house. I didn't eat barbecue when I was in Texas. Now here, we're up here all the time, and I have tasted it, but I have to stay away from it. And I stay away from it because I love it so much. It is awesome. The barbecue sauce is awesome. You got to get up here. You got to have some. It's a fantastic shop. I try to stay away from it because I know I can't control myself around that stuff.
Well, Coach, I tell you what, it was one of the big wins of the entire season, and congratulations. Thanks so much for the time today, and we will look forward to checking in again soon. Take care.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, Coach.
All right, you guys have a great morning.
Dino Babers, coach of Syracuse. What a win.
It really is. Then can you build on that? As I said, they got the U coming in, that big win last year, but it kind of didn't go too well after that. It's going to be, it's not going to be leaps and bounds. It'll be baby steps for them. But, wow, what a win and what a confidence builder
there will be a lot of programs calling him this offseason because I think there are going to be a few coaching changes. You listen to him talk. And from the coaches that I've talked to in the business, he's well respected. Yeah, yep. Fan base loves him. He can recruit. He's going to be highly coveted this offseason.
If you've ever spent any time around him, and we've had him in here a couple of times, as you mentioned, he has a real infectious energy about him. Yes. And so we'll see. I also thought it was interesting that Dabo went into the locker room with the Syracuse players and all of that. We'll get some thoughts on that as we continue.
Yeah. Well, I'd like to get some thoughts on that and the thoughts about the practice this week as Clemson has a bye week and just what that hell's going to be like.
Again, everyone very impressed with Dino Babers. Enjoyed the interview. And the question is, does he stay at Syracuse and try and build that, or does he get snapped up by one of the big programs out there that might have a coaching change? We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah.
Some of the other stuff I just am seeing here, Shefty is tweeting, despite suffering a foot injury yesterday, the Jaguars still expect Leonard Fournette to play this week against the Colts. Why are you shaking your head?
Well, because you and I were talking off the air. I'm just hoping they don't run that young man into the ground. Like, if he's got an injured foot and he can't go 100%, like we've seen when guys get out there and they can't go full speed, now you're compensating with other body parts, and that's when usually bad injuries happen. He's the franchise. I don't care what you say about Blake Bortles. Right now, Leonard Fournette is the franchise because he's shortening the game for the defense. He's keeping the defense fresh. He's basically taking the Zeke Elliott formula and making it more physical for Jacksonville. So for Jacksonville and your Tom Coughlin, if the guy's not 100% healthy or as close as he can, don't play him this week. Don't run this young man into the ground, Greeny.
Well, if he's on the field, he's going to run the ball a lot. And I have no problem with that at all. If he's healthy enough to be on the field, then you run him. He is the franchise, not Blake Bortles. Blake Bortles won't even be the quarterback of that team next year. So if he's out there, you run him. To your point, yes. If you don't want to risk that one, then keep him off the field.
Right.
But if he's on the field, you got to give him the rock. Have to.
He's a guy who was banged up in college because of the physical nature with which he runs. And I just don't like it because what bothers me about the way the system is set up is these teams, they draft these good young running backs, they run them and run them and run them and run them and carry them, and we need you. And then when it comes time for their contract, their response is, well, listen, the numbers show that players with this kind of carry, this kind of wear and tear on the tires, their numbers start falling off at this point, so we can't pay. We saw it happen with DeMarco Murray.
Yeah.
And I guess that's your lot in life as a running back.
The way it goes.
But you know what? I mean, if you wind up in a system where you share the carries with somebody, you have I guess it's a question of longevity versus whatever the alternative is.
You get drafted, he's the man. I mean, that's.
But then you get less money, though. If you share, like, prime example with
exactly
Devontae Freeman in Atlanta. He's sharing with Tevin Coleman. They try to give him a little less money. He had to take it to get his big deal.
Yep. But he's got a lot of money. He didn't get a lot less money. He got a little less money.
He's not getting the $12 million a year that Le'Veon Bell got. It was the franchise tag that Le'Veon Bell wants. That's my point.
Okay, so one way or another, I'm right and you're wrong on that. Let's move on to something else here. We'll give you guys 3 minutes here that we have before Adam Silver joins us. The rest of your thoughts on the college weekend. It was supposed to be a humdrum, there's no ranked game kind of weekend, and all of a sudden the big teams start dropping like flies.
Stunning. We just talked about Clemson losing, and then later that night, Washington State. Yeah. They lose. They get smoked. Then the amount of teams that lost, I thought it was pretty amazing. I think, Booger, overall, I think the Big 12 got helped the most here of the teams, with TCU leading the way, but Oklahoma State are right in it because they get their cracks there. I think the Pac-12 could be in a little bit of trouble here.
Here's what I look at. Alabama has a hold on number one right now, and the road for them to get to the college football playoff is really simplified. I think the toughest games they have left are going to be at Auburn and whoever they play in the SEC title game. When you look at number 2, Penn State's schedule is just about to start, Greeny. You got Michigan this Saturday night, which is on ABC. You got Ohio State after that, and then you got Michigan State. So this 3-game stretch for Penn State is going to determine their season. You look at TCU, November 11th sticks out. They got to go to Norman to play Oklahoma. That game, to me, is going to be very, very critical for them. Georgia, I like where Georgia is right now because Georgia has a schedule where they go to Auburn, and then they're going to have Florida, which probably is not going to be, but it's a rivalry game, and then you have the SEC championship game. Those 3 set up right there, pretty nice. I think the ACC is in good shape with Miami and Clemson coming back with Kelly Bryant getting healthy. I think the ACC is going to be okay. I'm with you, though. The Pac-12, when you have Washington losing with that strength with that non-conference schedule being as weak as it is, you have Washington State losing. I think the Pac-12, unless USC can get hot,
and run like they did last year,
like they did, if USC can get hot and run the table, I think they're the only hope for the Pac-12 now. But it was a wild weekend when you have 4 of the top 10 losing, and no one expected any of them to lose.
I'm still because listen, you have Penn State and Wisconsin both undefeated. It's not going to last, right? Something's going to happen.
They play each other.
They can't. And then TCU's undefeated.
Actually, they would only play each other in the conference title game.
But somebody's going to.
If they were both unbeaten, they would get there. Correct.
Somebody would lose, right? I still think. I said it before. I said it for a couple of weeks, and I'm hanging on to it. Georgia and Alabama are going to be undefeated playing one another in the SEC title game, and the question's going to be, will the loser of that team still make it in?
It depends on how the game is. If it's a classic, a good game, one team loses by a touchdown or field goal, you could see a scenario where this year – because right now, today, how can you argue that Alabama and Georgia are playing the best football? And it's not necessarily about who they're playing. It's about how they're doing it.
Right.
They are demolishing people. And so if it comes to that point, Golick, and it's a close game, the committee is going to have a very, very tough decision to make.
I think it would be interesting if Penn State winds up being unbeaten going into that Big Ten championship game and loses a close game to Wisconsin. If they have wins, the kind of wins that they have, if they beat Ohio State, if they beat Michigan, as good as they've looked all year long, would they be a team you could consider with one loss also?
Is Wisconsin undefeated in that scenario?
If Wisconsin is unbeaten, because then the Big Ten would obviously be getting them in, and and then would they get 2 teams in?
Yeah, maybe. I think when you look at Penn State's non-conference, I don't think it's tough enough maybe to warrant that. And I don't know how high the committee will value Big Ten.
Is the Big Ten right now better than the SEC?
It's right there.
And let me just say really quickly, if this certain team runs the table, let's not knock out the University of Notre Dame.
I knew
they would have one loss, and it would be against Georgia. They got a tough schedule.
Toughest stretch I've ever seen coming down.
But if they do it, they got a great argument.
Booger, thank you. Adam Silver joins us next. NBA season starts tomorrow. Stay there.
Go Irish.
I just saved hundreds of dollars by switching to Geico. I've never felt more alive.
Disclaimer. Geico cannot guarantee you will feel more alive. You either possess functioning respiratory and circulatory systems, or you do not, or you are a zombie. If you are indeed a brain-starved zombie and you would like to save money on car insurance, the Geico legal team applauds your excellent life choices, even in your shambling afterlife. But we strongly encourage you to visit geico.com or download the Geico app. Please stay a minimum of 500 feet away from our large and presumably delicious, delicious brains.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.